one approach to street photography, one that I don't do as much as a lot of people. That approach would be really focusing on fleeting moments, focusing on people, watching their interactions. And although people are an element in my work, they're usually not the focus. Times Square is the perfect kind of place to train yourself to do that sort of work. And the busiest place in your town would be the place to train yourself on that kind of work. You can just stand and watch people, see things unfolding that you already recognize. A moment from a recent workshop that I kind of pointed out that would be a good example for that was a couple that were walking together, moving pretty quickly, and they suddenly stopped. And then the girl sort of took one step closer into the guy, put the umbrella over his head, and he went, well, they're going to kiss. You just know that it's going to happen because it's the kind of behavior you've seen in the past. You know that, even subconsciously, you know that that's what's going to happen. You can spend a while in a place like this just watching how people behave and just see the same situations repeating themselves. So you don't even have to react quickly to the moment when it happens. You know it's going to happen because you've seen it 5 minutes before happening with someone else. That kind of people watching just gives you a bit of a natural instinct. So you start to feel like kind of precognition. You can predict people's behavior. So little details are a kind of an obsession for me, but mostly because I just think a lot of the time people's faces distract from the story. You see someone who's done 9 of their fingernails bright red and one of them just hasn't been done at all. Something like that is more interesting to me. And if, say, someone was in that situation, you know, that one fingernail unpainted, was doing something really interesting with their hands, and you had their face in the shot, humans are naturally trained to look at the face. You're going to look there and miss this. You're going to miss that story. So somewhere like this is good to sort of train yourself to look at little details. Just ignore faces and just start looking at what people are doing, how they're behaving, what they're carrying. Places like this can be really interesting because they're constantly changing. You've got a lot of opportunity for abstraction and juxtaposition using all the advertising, and it's constantly going to change. Like, in a week's time, every one of these adverts will be different. So if you make something really great right now, it's unrepeatable. In 5 years' time, maybe all of these signs change completely, and shots from Times Square right now look really weird. I mean, it's certainly the case if you look back at shots of Times Square from the 1950s. And the only chance we ever have to photograph 2019 is 2019. You can't do it again. And the classic bane of the street photographer's life is that everyone's always on their phone. A single character sat in a spot or on a bus or just looking down at their phone isn't interesting, but 10 people all lined up waiting for a bus in single file, all looking at their phone, is an interesting shot, and it says something about today. So there's no reason you need to avoid those kinds of elements. Include them, but just think, is it a good shot to begin with? Looking up is something I do probably more than a lot of people. Everyone seems to be constantly looking at eye level, even photographing at eye level. It's a really familiar way to look at the world. But I tend to shoot low a lot, or shoot down on things a lot, or be looking at reflections on the floor and just trying to find a different angle on something familiar. The issue with something like that is it's not unique. It's repeatable. Those adverts, there are big patches of colour. You have, a big Coca-Cola advert there a lot of the time, so there are big red patches of light that get thrown across the floor here. If you take a shot like that, tomorrow someone else could just go and do the same thing. It doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad image, but it's not going to be memorable if it's easily repeatable. Just watching how the advert changes, if there's any interesting elements to use in this backdrop. The stoplights anywhere in the States are pretty recognizable. Although they don't date exactly to 2019, obviously this kind of stuff does change. And the adverts certainly do. So if there's some kind of interesting juxtaposition between these elements here, it'd be quite a clean frame, considering we're in such a busy, messy place. But those adverts are going to keep changing around. So I just always be passing and just seeing what's there, what you can do with it. And it's a reflection that's iconic. Is this sign into any of the passing cars. It's something nowhere else has. And this is the kind of spot that if you find yourself in New York on a trip that you're not going to be able to repeat, it is something that the first time I came out here, I just camped out this spot and just shot into the cars until I finally got one that worked the way I wanted it to work, because I didn't know if I'd ever make it back. Yep, got that. A shot like that, I actually kind of deliberately walked and made a point of walking straight towards him because I wanted him to be looking straight at me. Other times you want to be a little bit more incognito, but it's a trick I'll use a lot of the time. If I want eye contact, I just want that little glance into the lens, I'll bring the camera straight to my eye and just walk dead at someone so that they turn and look. Most of the time they then look away because they're just not bothered, but you just want that little bit of recognition. Just a good opportunity a second ago to use the H&M advertising and the back of the bus with the Southern Stripes. So it just links everything together, gives you a sense of place. It's something that I would just shoot multiple shots of because that advert is changing constantly. You never know what sort of flash of light you're going to catch from the backdrop, or how it's going to change. We're not shooting film anymore, so unless you shoot short of card space, just keep shooting, because it could just be as simple as a police car passes and you just get a quick flash, or some other light source enters that you couldn't predict and you just get a nice extra element of color that you wouldn't have got if you were shooting single frames. It can really make or break a shot. This is probably a spot that I would hang around in for quite a while. You've got such a strong light source on one side of the street. You've got a really strong light source in front of us spilling along the street there as well. And constant buses that are just providing you with silhouettes and reflections on the windows. All it's going to take is just some really defined, nice moment on the bus where you can see someone's hands doing something. Something like this, I've seen the frame, I've seen the reflection of the red neon against the window, I've seen the people on the bus, I know what's going to unfold. And one version of that shot is not really going to be much better than any other version of that shot. So in a situation like this, I'd wait until I've got one that has the elements that I kind of see in my head in it, and then I'm done. You could spend hours here waiting for the right moment on the bus to just be slightly better than another, but it's more about the light and the color than anything else. So I think waiting any longer would just be kind of missing out on everything else, every other opportunity that's going to happen in the city.